Hi, this is Ron Janish. As you probably know, if you've used the median line for any period of time, you'd know that prices make it to the median line about 80% of the time, according to Dr. Alan Andrews, who, by the way, was really a civil engineer, even though he didn't build a lot of bridges. And one of the things you know is that prices making it to the median line doesn't mean that they go to it and exactly turn, even though sometimes they do turn when they go to the median line and reverse and go the other way. And if you've used median lines for any period of time, you would have seen this time and time again, prices going to the median line, reversing, breaking the outer parallel, where some people like to buy for some reason, and then going even further. And you've probably also seen that simply entering at the median line, like right here, because prices have reached the median line, isn't necessarily very risk-free, because as you can see here, prices make it to the upper parallel and reverse. So you know that sometimes prices even go to the far parallel and reverse and continue in their move. So what do you do in order to find targets with the median line? Well, and how do you define those targets? Well, what you can do is combine them with something else. And I'll show you exactly how that's done. What you do is you find a valid center line. Now Roger Babson said in his autobiography, Actions and Reactions, that the most important line is the center line, and that's the one that's very hard to determine. And once you have this valid center line, finding action reaction points, that's not a big deal. So what Andrews would do was he would, at his seminar, tell you how to determine these valid center lines. And what we do is, rather than put it in our manual, which show you the wonderful golden pivot rule that we don't tell you about in the videos, is in one of our videos that you get to see, and there's a series of about a dozen that cover all the different aspects of the course methods that you get to see as a result of taking the course over at andrewscourse.com. So you go through the videos, and in one of the videos that cover the action reaction lines, you'll see shown to you how to apply the Andrews rule set regarding how to determine what a valid center line is. And there really is a multi-step process. So it's not just a simple one or two questions thing that some people seem to think it is. And you see that exactly in the video. So what happens is you determine that this is a valid center line, and then you find your action points. Now when you have a downsloping center line, your prior action points are typically lows. And so what you do is you take the distance from your center line and measure it out to your action point, and then pop that over into the future, and you do that for the different action reaction points. Now I'm going to show you something really cool about these action reaction lines. Let's say you come over here and you say, hey, this worked really well, and you see, well, you can see the distance between this action point and this action point is here. So the distance between from where it gets to here and the next reaction line isn't necessarily very far. So at this point in time, you would be looking for a move that was not necessarily very far. Okay, so you draw your median line and you get your 80% of the time prices hit the median line. And you see that prices go past the median line a little bit, and they come right to the area of the reaction line. Okay. So prices have come to the area of the reaction line. Now notice here the distance between here and here is quite substantial in terms of number of bars. And so the idea being that the next reaction line is way out there. But the problem is you have to find a low risk, high probability entry point in order to determine where that is going to be. And for that you go to the golden pivot rule. And so what you do is you draw your lines here, after you believe that prices have made their counter move to the downside and are now headed up again. So you use the golden pivot rule to apply that, and then what you have is you have this point here is the reaction point. Now, given this much data, if on the next day prices come all the way up to here quickly, then there's a good probability that this here at the far parallel is going to be your turn area, okay, because you're for a temporary pivot, because your target has been met. However, if they do not hit this area here within a couple of days, then probability is where the intersection of this red median line is and this downsloping blue reaction line is more likely to be your point. Okay, and we can see here that this was made, right? And so once again, what you do is you calculate your, if prices do reverse here, and they do, okay, what you do is once again calculate your golden pivot rule point, and you'll find that it's down here somewhere. And then you draw your next center line. And once again, you see that there's a considerable distance between here and there. And whoops, that isn't even drawn properly. Okay. And so you have your action point, and your reaction point is way out there, a good amount of time away. And if this here is a valid reversal point, then you're looking at, once again, you draw your median line, okay, and the theory would be that it's either going to hit that reverse somewhere near that far parallel or near the median line and the intersection of this line. Let's see what happens. Whoops, I'm going to have to redo it. That's because I didn't calculate that golden pivot rule line in front of you for good reason. Okay, so prices didn't come up to here, but they did come up to this area here, letting you know that another target has been met. And here it exceeded the target. Okay, so once again, after an entry, you have your target area here. Okay, and so that's how you do targets combined with the Andrews median lines. Okay, now it's important. Remember, it's important that since these targets are sometimes exceeded, like this here, that you don't use these for an entry reversal point, but the standard targets, like this was a target and this was a target up here, that you use those for reference points to know that targets have been met and you may want to take profits at those points, and that you then start looking for the golden pivot rule application in order to find the entry. Okay? Well, this is Ron Janish. During the daytime, I can be reached at 858-736-9137 when I'm in the office, and otherwise I can also be reached at support@andrewscourse.com.